really
There's only one well in Australia.
Well, only one shale. No, we have no shale wells ourselves in Australia. There's only one drilled by Gentry.
So what are your properties in Australia?
Beach. Well, we have approximately 14 million acres of lands there. We have 400,000 here for comparison. So we have about 14 million of acres in Australia that we are doing the same process there as we are here. We're looking at the rocks, we're looking at what other operators did, and we're trying to understand. The first Australian shale gas well was a very economic success, and so now there are approximately a dozen companies working all across Australia on that.
Was it an environmental success?
You know, it's a very fair question.
I don't know.
I would have to say to you that I doubt very much that they bond logged the cement. I would be surprised if they did. And so the well, 99.9% of the time, probably fine, but they have no proof of that.
On average, there's an accident a day in America.
Well, with 15...
On average, there's an accident a day.
Yeah, but I can't speak to your terms, but I would keep you in... Again, you see a lot of things, but 15,000 gas wells going down in the United States this year with this method. The city of Dallas-Fort Worth, with more population than all of the Republic of Ireland, sitting on top of the Barnett Shale. 30 years, nearly 20,000 wells. It's still going on. Tony has a good expression.
Cancer is multiplying accordingly.
Yeah, you know, breast cancer is the highest, in all the states.
I have read the invasive thing, and I am quite curious about it.
Yeah.
Curious.
Well, I can only be curious because we see studies all the time.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Well, no, the Barnett is a personal study, actually. I've studied almost 15,000 of the Barnett shale.
Do you ever fish?
Actually, my father.
Very nice, very young. I'm afraid we didn't live in Saskatchewan. Is not much of a lake country in the grain area, so
there's lots of it around here.
Yes. To your very point about the cancer issues, and you know, again, the Barnett Shale is an area drilled on single well pads all over the place. Imagine most of those 17,000 wells have their own footprint. They don't have the efficiency of the gathering we talked about, where the water is gathered at the gas is gathered, the fumes at the top of tanks, for example. I don't pretend to give...
So there'd be no VOC, is that what you're saying?
That's,
on these
yes.
condensing tanks?
Yeah, that's right.
Unless there's an accident.
That's new.
Unless there's an accident.
No,
Has that been done already, or is this another one?
Oh yes, no, it's done, it's actually very easily done. It's just, if you picture an American operator, if you've got... You've seen it in some of you may have seen the Gaslight movie where they are in the Rockies and they're trying to figure out how many wells they can see. There's actually a field in the Rockies right now where there are 128 wells in a square mile.
And no people?
Well, probably very few. I mean, there's got to be landowners in the area somewhere, but probably not many. But the fact is, imagine that each of those wells, it's not cost effective for the company to gather the emissions on a single well. The cost of the piping, so they don't. So 128 wells, micro fumes, but they add up, don't they? And that's why we have a central well pad, so that we would never have that problem.
When you're fracking and you're creating all the pressure to put the water and the sand down the well, isn't it true that several tankers, trucks with pumps on the back will be parked to frack the well?
You're absolutely right. There'll be
and
probably
now
5 or 6.
Won't those tankers be running in order to, on diesel,
they will run
letting
diesel.
off fumes
24/7.
Now
in order to create enough pressure to frack the wells?
All please take this as you will. You have to be careful with statements like that because the perspective doesn't sound good.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
Well, the reason I say it is because in this country you burn a lot of oil every day. And I don't mean that 5 trucks are welcome any more than another 5 trucks anywhere on the roads are welcome, right? But the point
But it's not just them on the road, though. It's sitting, running, idling.
That's right.
While they force.
And we can quantify how much they burn, and we can put that as a percentage of everything that's burned in this country. And if you will, it's minuscule. And so why I say this to you is because when those arguments are made on public settings, they don't carry the weight you might feel, because they really are very small amounts compared to what the country burns.
But
it's
if you're living right next door to it, do you know? That's just drifting right across your cattle in your house.
Well, nobody's going to live next door to one of our well pads, but I mean, we'll be about a kilometer separation, but I do appreciate your concept. But those emissions,
Kilometers only like, what, a mile and a half?
Sheep or cattle like nearby.
0.6 miles, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing. I walk 2 miles every day, like,
try not
0.6,
to.
nothing.
I can't answer you on that other than to say that from a perspective point of view, I mean, these things are all
It is what it is.
They are out there.
Yeah.
Well, and it's industry. You right now have, I'm not picking on them, but you have many facilities in town that have emissions.
But that doesn't make, just because they're wrong doesn't make what you're doing right.
I agree, but this is where the perspective is challenging, right? If you come out so strong and saying, well, 5 trucks, yeah, but you've got how many million vehicles on the road? And
There's
so,
no guarantee it's
so it
fine.
doesn't-
There's no guarantee it's fine.
Well, that's just
How would the community
Yes,
of it,
exactly.
for example,
Actually,
Kilty
it
Clogher
is
benefit
all-
financially
For
from
one
your
well,
journey?
yes.
Sorry,
16 possible
you
wells
use
to be
Kilty
passed.
Clogher as an example.
Well, I think the initial pad has to be
But
drilled,
so
and I
if all your
can't.
money is going back to your shareholders, how does any local community benefit from you coming in the first place?
Oh, very good question. Well, this kind of project is very spending intense right up front. So actually, a lot of spending is done locally. Probably 80% of the project spending is done locally. So one of the differences with the core,
Are you talking about materials and that?
materials, labor.
We did that with our business
services.
boom. We tried to make the fast book, and as you can see, it didn't work.
Well, it's
Now
like
we're stuck with ghost
Canada and
estates,
the U.S.
nightmare.
Exactly, the U.S. far worse. In fact,
Fast book doesn't work. We know that now.
it's unsustainable, isn't it?
So that's why you're coming in here.
Well, see, and in America,
Sustainable. You're saying it yourself, it's unsustainable.
A gas project, by definition, folks, has a lifespan, right? Yes, it is unsustainable if you use that term.
But methane digesters don't, they will go on.
And many things like that.
Why don't we invest in that? Come and build a few of you.
There just isn't today.
see, we found with the building
investment
boom,
appetite for those things. I'm sorry, that is the blunt attitude, is that there just isn't enough of a return.
If you put all that money into it,
I can't even talk you into things. How am I going to talk them into it? And they're greedy. So, no, that's,
and in America, the majority of the workers were migrant workers, people who live out of state.
yes.
You know, we found the same thing here with the building boom. So many of the people that came in to do the work didn't live in Ireland, didn't
Right.
spend the money in Ireland, because they sent it back to their home countries.
You couldn't get people fast enough.
We're
Exactly.
probably going to find the same thing with this.
No. You have a wonderfully educated workforce here. You have a high unemployment rate. You have a good, solid words, but
I had a
you have
man
good,
yesterday who
solid
cleans my chimney tell me he couldn't get anyone to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to come and help him clean chimneys because it was dirty work that nobody wanted to do that early in the day.
The U.S. has the same
So
problem, right?
what's going to happen with this dirty gas work?
Well, this
that
isn't
people aren't
dirty
gonna
work.
wanna do?
If
It's
my
still
operator gets his hand dirty, he spilled something, and that's a no-no. So, no, this is, I can't describe it to you without showing you a picture or seeing it. This is a professional plant operation. I mean, running a well pad with a water cleaning facility, with water tanks.
So it's very skilled work.
It's skilled in the sense that you have to pay attention to the process in front of you. Let me give you an example. If you're sitting on a tractor all day, right? When something goes wrong, you've got to swing into action.